Hey guys, you ever want to stick it to the man, get out from under corporate's foot, become more self-sufficient, start your own homestead, basically be able to start providing for yourself and not rely on anyone else? I'm going to show you 6 great ways to start right now. So I'm inside our new greenhouse, and that's basically the first way you can start to become more self-sufficient, is start a garden. And it's so easy because anyone can do it anywhere you are. Even if you're in an apartment building and you have a little patio, a little deck on that you can walk out to. If you have sun coming in the window, you can start a garden. You just get like those little trays, the peat pellets, and you start planting some herbs or anything else you want to grow. You start a garden. And what I'd suggest for anyone who's in a smaller size place that doesn't have a lot of property, say in an apartment building or a townhouse or something like that where you're kind of limited by what you can grow, is grow all of one kind of produce. So instead of growing, say, a few carrots, some broccoli, some tomatoes, some peppers, grow one of something. So sure, grow some herbs and all that sort of stuff, but if you grow one of something and you maximize the space you have, then say you grow a whole ton of tomatoes, well, you've got a whole ton of canning you can do. If you do a whole ton of broccoli, well, you can do a whole ton of freezing. If you do, say for example, 1 or 2 of each, you're gonna have, in some cases, for example, the broccoli or something like that, you might only end up with 1 or 2 broccoli. So you might do all that work, take that space in the garden, and have one dinner with it. Whereas, say you do the whole thing with broccoli, well, you can harvest all those and basically blanch them and freeze them. And then you'll be able to have broccoli more often for more dinners. So, depending on the space you have, maximize it and get started with a garden. Number 2, start a food forest. So in behind me is one of the food forests we're starting. So even if you're on a small property and you have like some sort of yard, you can start a food forest. Hounds, dogs, nuts. Are you nuts? You're nuts. Yep. Start planting an apple tree, a pear tree, a plum tree, cherry tree, any of those. Instead of planting, say, a maple or an oak or a pine or Japanese maple, something that's going to look good, plant something instead that's going to produce something good. So once you plant that tree, see if you can plant a couple more around it, given the space that you have. And underneath that, plant a bush. So for example, a camarese, blueberry, strawberry, raspberry, blackcurrant, something like that where it's not going to be the same height as the apple tree. And plant a few of those around. And then underneath that, plant some other stuff like, say, rosemary, thyme, sage, rhubarb. Create almost like a mini little forest of food that will produce stuff for you each summer, and then allow that to grow and maximize that to your best ability. Number 3, chickens. Chickens are great because they fit into small spaces. So even if you have just a small area in your backyard and your municipality allows it, you need probably 2-3 chickens and you'll have enough eggs for the family. So you can go into your local co-op and pick up a chicken. I think they're like $5 or something like that, if I remember correctly. And I'd suggest getting maybe 2, 3, depending on what your family needs are. And basically they'll start laying eggs after, I think it's 6 months. easy to keep. You just have a little chicken house for them. For us, we have Chanticleer, so they're really good in the winter. And all you have to do is get a little insulated chicken house for them, and they'll stay nice and happy. Nope, no dogs allowed in the chicken house. Someone wants to come in and visit. So the dog came in, and so now the two roosters are basically like talking to each other, trying to gang up on the dog. So our Chanticleers are actually meat birds and egg birds. So we have 2 cocks right now, and they will fertilize all the eggs. So what we can do is actually take those eggs, put them in an incubator, and start raising our own birds now, as well as having our own eggs. So if you get something where you have a couple chickens and you get a rooster, you'll be able to start producing your own food, your own eggs. In that regard, you can start the process. So the Chanticleer aren't, for their meat, they're not bad. They're not as great as saying you go out and buy meat birds. Totally different. But they're not as bad as trying to eat a strict egg bird. So definitely get yourself some chickens if you're allowed to and you have the space. And you can let them outside and they'll free range. So they'll eat bugs, caterpillars, they'll eat grasshoppers. So you can let them out in your garden and they'll keep all the pests away out of your garden as well, which is very handy. Number 4, rabbits. Rabbits are cheap and easy keepers. They also don't need a lot of space. So for us, we've got a cage that fits 5 and we can breed them in there. We've got a little spot at the end for the mom to have the babies, and they provide tons of babies year round, so it really gets a lot of meat for yourself with not a lot of cost outlay. And they're easy keepers. Again, you can throw in lettuce from the garden, that sort of stuff. Give them some hay in their feed, and if you get a breeding pair, you're basically good to go for raising your own little colony. And that's what we'll actually be doing. Instead of using the cages, we're going to build a colony so they can basically run around and breed, and we'll get a couple more females and we'll have tons of meat for not a lot of money. So another great thing you can have to actually become more self-sufficient is honeybees. Honeybees are so awesome because they produce a ton of honey for the amount they have, the size you have. So even if you have, again, a small townhouse or a small house in the subdivision, you can stick a hive in the backyard, no problem at all. They will basically leave you alone as long as you leave them alone. The first year we did bees, we got 40 pounds of honey, and that was from one hive, our first time just starting. So it's really cool that way, that you'll be able to produce your own honey and, again, not have to go into the grocery store to get honey at all. And number 6, if you have the space, pigs. Pigs are amazing because they provide so much food, and this is our little pig pen right in here. It's such a small area, and it allows you to produce a whole bunch of meat for the year. So we get ours in the spring. We pay about 80 bucks, I think it is, per pig, and they come with paperwork and that. So if you're not going to butcher and you're going to take your pig to a processing plant, you'll need that paperwork. Here in Quebec anyway. I'm not sure how it works the rest of Canada or anywhere else. So you have your little space. Say you spend 160 bucks, you get 2 pigs. Well, there's enough pork to do a family of 5 easily for a year, no problem. And you can share it with friends, neighbors. You can trade it as well for other stuff. And they're really easy to raise because you can take your compost out and throw them your compost. They'll eat that. You can make them, you can take them stuff from the garden. Say you have a salad, lettuce and stuff that rots and goes bad. Throw it into the pigs. They'll love that too. If not, they'll sort it in and not eat it. So guys, I hope this gave you some ideas of a few little ways and inexpensive ways that you can kind of start right now becoming more self-sufficient. Not really mattering where you live, how much property you have, that sort of thing. You can even take 4 of those ideas, possibly the chickens, the food forest, the garden, maybe the bees, and start incorporating that into your lifestyle somehow to make yourself more self-reliant. So thanks again, guys, for checking us out. Let me know if you have any questions at all. Get down there, hit that like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.